Ladies and gentlemen, picture this. September 17th, Riyadh, Saudi F-15 fighter jets roar overhead, a red carpet unfurls at Al Yamama Palace, and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is greeted with full royal protocol. Beside him, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Together, they sign a document that could redraw the security map of West Asia, the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. It declares that any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both. On the surface, this looks like a ceremonial renewal of an old friendship. But let me ask you this, why now? Look closer and you will see it is a response to a region on fire. Israel bombing Gaza, striking Qatar, Iran under pressure, and the United States, well, once the security guarantor of the Gulf, increasingly absent. Analysts call it is a watershed moment. And here's the catch. For the first time, Pakistan's nuclear shadow looms over the Gulf. To understand why this pact matters, you and I need to go back decades. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan are not new allies. Their ties stretch back nearly 8 decades, rooted in faith, strategy, and survival. As early as 1951, they signed a treaty of friendship. By the 1980s, Pakistani soldiers were a permanent fixture in the kingdom, training Saudi forces, guarding its borders, and even defending royal palaces. Here's something most people do not realize. Even today, 1500 to 2000 Pakistani troops are stationed in Saudi Arabia. They don't just stand on parade grounds, they provide operational, technical, and training support to the Saudi military. The deal has always been two-way. Riyadh has pumped billions into Pakistan's fragile economy, bailing it out with loans, oil on deferred payments, and quiet financial lifelines whenever Islamabad was on the brink. But there's another shadow that has always hung over this partnership: the nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia is oil rich, but Pakistan is the only Muslim majority nation armed with nuclear bombs. For decades, whispers suggested Riyadh helped fund Pakistan's nuclear program, and in return, it expected access. If the day ever came when Iran crossed the nuclear threshold, those whispers turned louder when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman once told a US senator, "I don't need uranium to make a bomb, I will just buy one from Pakistan." For years that was speculation, but now with this new pact, Pakistan's defense minister has gone on record saying, "What we have and the capabilities we possess will be made available to Saudi Arabia." And my friends, that declaration changes everything. The pact wasn't signed in a vacuum. Its timing is as significant as its content. For years, the Gulf monarchies relied on the United States as a security umbrella, but cracks have been showing. In 2019, Iran-backed Houthis struck Saudi oil facilities. The US looked away. Washington was no longer willing to fight new wars in West Asia. Then came the Gaza war. Israel's relentless bombing, backed unconditionally by the US, deepened insecurity across the region. But here's the moment that really shook everyone. On September 9, 2025, when Israel bombed Doha, the Qatari capital, killing Hamas members and even a Qatari officer. Doha is home to Al Udeid Air Base, America's biggest military base in the Gulf. Think about that. If even Qatar could be hit without a US response, what did that say about American credibility? 8 days later, on September 17th, Saudi Arabia signed its pact with Pakistan. For Riyadh, it was hedging its bets, strengthening security ties with the one Muslim nation that not only had manpower to spare, but also the ultimate deterrent. For Pakistan, cash-strapped but militarily strong, it was a chance to present itself as a security provider, not just a nation in crisis. As one analyst put it, this was more than a deal, it was a signal that the Gulf would no longer rely on American alone. Look at the bigger board, my friends, and this pact reveals even more revealing. Before October 7th, the US had a plan: bring Israel into the Gulf security architecture, isolate Iran, keep Qatar in check, and sideline Pakistan. But the Gaza war changed everything. Hamas survived, Israel's bombardment spilled into neighboring states, and Arab anger boiled over. Instead of stability, Washington's strategy left the region even more fractured than before. For Riyadh, the answer was simple: diversification. Analysts call this pact a geopolitical marriage between Saudi Arabia bringing money and Pakistan bringing nuclear deterrence. Together, they create a new axis in Gulf security. And here's the part nobody tells you. It's about more than Iran or Israel. The deal unsettles US influence in the Western Indian Ocean and pulls China closer, since Pakistan remains Beijing's close partner. By turning to Pakistan, Saudi Arabia is sending a clear signal. To Washington, to Tel Aviv, and even to Tehran, it's no longer content to rely on only one power. It also complicates Washington and New Delhi's big bet, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or the IMEC, launched in 2023 as a counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Think about it: if Saudi trust tilts toward Islamabad, IMEC's credibility is as an alternative route to Europe could crumble. Some see it as a hedge against Israel's unpredictability. Others say it's aimed squarely at Iran, whose nuclear ambitions haunt Saudi leaders. It can be viewed as a shortcut to nuclear capability in the event that Iran does acquire nuclear weapons. In the Gulf, symbolism matters. Partnering with Pakistan, the only Muslim nuclear power and the largest army in the Islamic world, is as much about perception as it is about real deployment. And the message couldn't be clearer. Saudi Arabia is keeping its options open, and the Gulf's security order is no longer America's monopoly. For India, this pact is more than just Gulf diplomacy. It touches its core security interests. Over the past decade, New Delhi and Riyadh had drawn closer. Prime Minister Modi visited Saudi Arabia 3 times. Trade, energy, technology, and counter-terrorism ties deepened. Today, nearly 2.6 million Indians live and work in the kingdom, sending billions in remittances home. In 2019, when Pakistan demanded a special Islamic summit over Kashmir, Saudi Arabia quietly refused. Riyadh even tacitly accepted India's removal of Kashmir's special status. For India, that was proof it had tilted the Gulf balance away from Pakistan. But the new defense pact changes the equation. Just months earlier, in May 2025, India and Pakistan fought a 4-day skirmish, missiles and drones hitting each other's bases, the worst escalation in decades. And now, Pakistan has secured a collective defense guarantee from Saudi Arabia. India's official response was cautious. It will study the implications of this development for our national security as well as for regional stability. But, think about what that really means. The risks are very clear. 1. Pakistan may feel emboldened knowing Riyadh has its back. 2. West Asia could slide into deeper militarization, pulling India into crisis it cannot control. Saudi officials insist their relationship with India is more robust than ever, but New Delhi now faces an uncomfortable truth. Its Gulf strategy, once built on economic partnership and diaspora diplomacy, is now entangled with Pakistan's nuclear shadow. So what does this pact really mean? For Saudi Arabia, it's a hedge, a way to stabilize its battered economy, secure military manpower, and signal to Washington and Tel Aviv that it will not rely on them alone. For Pakistan, it's about prestige and survival. A country drowning in debt suddenly looks like a security provider to the Gulf. Its army, already the most powerful institution at home, now expands its foreign policy clout. But here's the catch. The prestige comes at a price: deeper military dominance over civilian politics. For India, the risks multiply. A more emboldened Pakistan, a Gulf region that is more militarized and less predictable, and a Saudi partner that, while still trading and investing, now carries Islamabad under its wing. And for West Asia as a whole, it means the sands are shifting. The Gulf monarchies no longer see America as their sole protector. They are building multiple alliances with Israel, with China, with Turkey, and now with nuclear-armed Pakistan. Think about what that means. The Saudi-Pakistan Pact is not just a treaty, it is a signal that in a region defined by uncertainty, alliances are fluid and security is never guaranteed. Because in West Asia, what looks like stability today can ignite into conflict tomorrow, and the world will be forced to deal with the fallout. This is conflict in context because conflict is inevitable, but context decides who wins. Thank you and bye.